Going on tour sounds like every rock star's dream. Big crowds, loud music, and living life to the fullest. But for some bands, the reality was far from fun. Instead of bonding on the road, things got ugly. Really ugly. You'd think sharing the stage would bring musicians closer, but sometimes it did the exact opposite. Egos got in the way, tempers flared, and before long, backstage turned into a war zone. Some of these feuds got so bad, they didn't just ruin friendships, they nearly destroyed careers. Fights broke out, insults were thrown, and entire tours became disasters waiting to happen. These aren't just small disagreements, they're legendary grudges that turn touring into a nightmare for everyone involved. So let's dive into the wildest stories of rock stars who hated touring together. And trust me, things are about to get messy. When it comes to bad blood between rock stars, Axl Rose and Vince Neil took things to a whole new level. It all started in 1989 at the famous Cat House Club in Los Angeles. Guns N' Roses guitarist Izzy Stradlin allegedly made a move on Vince Neil's wife, and according to Neil, didn't stop when she rejected him. In fact, Stradlin supposedly grabbed her and even kicked her while she was pregnant. Stradlin denied it, but that didn't matter to Neil. Later that year at the MTV Music Awards, Motley Crue was introducing Guns N' Roses on stage. As soon as Stradlin walked off, Neil sucker punched him right in the face. And that's when things really exploded. Axl Rose wasn't about to let it slide. He started firing back in interviews, threatening Neil with what sounded like a challenge straight out of a bad action movie. Guns, knives, or fists. Whatever you want to do. Neil didn't back down either. He went on TV and dared Axl to fight him anytime, any place. The media hyped up the tension, but the fight never actually happened. Even though the two never threw punches face to face, the feud followed them for years. The bad blood left a mark on both bands, creating a rivalry that fans couldn't stop talking about. And the tension didn't exactly make touring easy for anyone involved. Some feuds aren't just personal, they're about completely different views on music and life. That's exactly what happened between Kurt Cobain and Axl Rose. On one side, you had Guns N' Roses, the kings of hard partying glam metal. On the other, Nirvana, the face of raw, emotional grunge. At first, Axl was actually a fan of Nirvana and even wanted them to open for Guns N' Roses on tour, but Kurt wasn't interested, and he made that very clear. In a 1992 interview with Rolling Stone, Kurt threw some serious shade, saying, "We're not your typical Guns N' Roses type of band that has absolutely nothing to say." Axl didn't take that lightly. During a show, he fired back, calling Kurt and his wife, Courtney Love, junkies, and even made nasty comments about their unborn child. Things hit a boiling point at the MTV Music Awards that same year. Courtney sarcastically asked Axl if he wanted to be their baby's godfather. Axl lost it and told her, "You better shut up or I'll take you down." For Kurt, though, this wasn't just a petty feud. He saw Axl as everything Nirvana stood against. Someone who represented sexism, racism, and everything wrong with the rock scene at the time. The feud ended in tragedy with Kurt's death in 1994. Axl never made a public statement about him, leaving this clash as one of the most bitter rivalries in rock history. Some rock star feuds start with serious drama. Others start with accusations of copying. That's exactly what kicked off the bad blood between Anthony Kiedis of Red Hot Chili Peppers and Mike Patton of Faith No More. It all began when Kiedis claimed that Patton was ripping off his style. Now, Patton was known for being experimental and constantly switching up his sound, but Kiedis didn't see it that way. He believed Patton was stealing his funk-inspired stage presence and energy, and he didn't keep those feelings quiet. At first, Patton brushed off the accusations, but things took a darker turn when Kiedis allegedly used his influence to sabotage Patton's side project, Mr. Bungle. Their album release was delayed, and they were even dropped from festival lineups, moves that many believe were fueled by Kiedis pulling strings behind the scenes. Patton didn't take it lying down. During a Halloween show, Mr. Bungle dressed up as Red Hot Chili Peppers and did a full-on parody, mocking Kiedis' style and antics on stage. It was funny until the jokes crossed the line by making fun of the Peppers' former guitarist who had died from addiction. Kiedis didn't let it slide. He allegedly made sure Mr. Bungle was dropped from even more festivals, which eventually led to the band breaking up in 2000. Years later, Patton took the high road, saying, "I bet we'd have a warm embrace if we saw each other." But the damage from that feud was already done. When you think of punk rock, two names come to mind from completely different eras: Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols and Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. But instead of mutual respect between two punk icons, things got heated, mostly because Johnny couldn't let go of the past. It all started in 1996 when Green Day was blowing up, becoming the face of modern punk. Meanwhile, the Sex Pistols were launching their reunion tour, and Johnny wasn't thrilled with how popular Green Day had become. He called them out directly, saying they were nothing more than copycats. They haven't come up with anything on their own. Billy Joe didn't stay quiet. He fired back in an interview, pointing out the irony that if it weren't for Green Day's success, the Sex Pistols might not have gotten their big reunion tour at all. You'd think the drama would fade over time, but Johnny kept the insults going for years, calling Green Day sellouts and mocking their success. Billy, on the other hand, showed nothing but respect, even admitting that Nevermind the Bollocks was one of the first punk albums that truly inspired him. In the end, this wasn't just a personal feud, it was a clash between old-school punk purity and a new generation of rock stars trying to carry the torch. Not all feuds are loud in public, some are quiet, personal, and sting just as much. That was the case with Jack White and the Black Keys. On the surface, they had a lot in common. Both were blues-inspired, garage rock duos with a raw, stripped-down sound. But for Jack White, those similarities felt a little too close for comfort. It all started when White believed the Black Keys were copying the White Stripes' signature style. Things got awkward in 2012 when the Black Keys unknowingly rented a private studio in Nashville, one that White owned. Word quickly spread that White didn't want them there, and Auerbach had to leave. But the real drama came when White's divorce emails leaked. In them, White ranted about Dan Auerbach, furious that their kids went to the same school. He even called Auerbach out for following him around and trying to push into his world. Things got more personal when Patrick Carney from the Black Keys claimed White tried to pick a fight with him at a bar. White denied it, and over time, tensions seemed to cool. While there's no clear sign they've fully made peace, the drama between them has definitely quieted down, at least for now. When it comes to Rockstar feuds, no one does it quite like Liam and Noel Gallagher from Oasis. This wasn't just a band falling apart. It was a full-on family meltdown that turned every tour into a ticking time bomb. It started back in 1994 during their first North American tour. At a show in Los Angeles, Liam decided to mock Noel mid-performance by changing the lyrics of their songs just to mess with him. Noel didn't take it well. He hit Liam with a tambourine and then stormed off the tour altogether. But that was just the beginning. In 1995, things got even uglier when Liam showed up to a recording session drunk, bringing random strangers along for the chaos. Noel, already on edge, snapped and reportedly attacked Liam with a cricket bat. You'd think that would be rock bottom, but they kept going. During a 2009 show in Barcelona, Liam took a cheap shot at Noel's wife while on stage. Backstage, tensions finally exploded. Noel's guitar was smashed, and soon after, he quit the band, saying he just couldn't deal with Liam anymore. Despite years of trading insults in the press, something surprising is happening in 2025. The Gallagher brothers are planning a reunion tour, but with their history of fights and grudges, fans can't help but wonder, are they finally ready to bury the hatchet, or is this just the calm before the next storm? Touring is supposed to be the dream, playing music, traveling the world, and living the rock star life. But for these bands, it turned into a nightmare. When you mix massive egos, constant pressure, and the stress of life on the road, it's no surprise that tempers explode. Some feuds led to broken friendships, while others nearly destroyed careers. For these rock stars, touring together wasn't just difficult, it was downright unbearable. In the end, these stories prove one thing: being a rock star isn't always about the music. Sometimes it's about surviving the chaos behind the scenes.